That's kind of a similar thing that we're trying to replicate at Madsen. We've already got a significant resource in the ground, a little over 2 million ounces, fairly high grade, 7 to 8 grams, but we also have some other things in the district that we're interested in at the deposit scale as well.
The Red Lake District is one of the most prolific gold mining jurisdictions. We had a very insightful conversation with Will Robinson, Vice President of Exploration at West Red Lake Gold. He provided some excellent color on the history of the region and high-grade exploration upside ahead. Let's dive in.
So I joined West Red Lake last February, so February of 2023. So it's still a pretty new company, and I'm one of the longest, I guess, time employees of the new company as it's taken shape. So I was brought on pretty early with the new West Red. Before that, I was with Core Mining, so a mid-tier gold and silver producer for almost 11 years. I did time at their Kensington mine in Southeast Alaska is where I got started with Core, and then some time at the Silvertip mine, and also worked at the Rochester project in Nevada. So got exposure to a number of their assets, mainly driving exploration programs, working with the site teams on generative type concepts, bringing new targets into the pipeline of the exploration portfolio. So I had a lot of fun with that. And then before Core, I was actually doing a lot of grassroots exploration all over primarily the state of Alaska. So since 2004 to 2012, that was kind of my main focus. So, the Red Lake District has a very prolific history. Over 30 million ounces have been mined in a very small land package, just to kind of demonstrate the fertility of the geology in that particular area. So it's very special, globally. Not only do you have a lot of gold in the area of Red Lake, but you have very high grade gold. And so the best example of that obviously is at the Red Lake complex and, the high grade zone discovery back in the early 90s, which completely, changed the landscape for the company, the Dickinson mine at the time, which then eventually became Goldcorp, right, under Rob McEwen. And so that's kind of a similar thing that we're trying to replicate at Madsen. We've already got a significant resource in the ground, a little over 2 million ounces, fairly high grade, 7 to 8 grams, but we also have some other things in the district that we're interested in at the deposit scale as well. The 8 zone, for instance, is a deep zone of very high grade material at Madsen that's strikingly similar to the high grade zone geologically, and also with tenor of mineralization. We're looking at half ounce to 20 gram material within the 8 zone, as opposed to the 7 to 8 gram, which is kind of the average for the bulk of the Madsen deposit. So that's sort of our strategy as we move forward. Is we want to take advantage of the high confidence material that we have in the existing Madsen deposit, but also take full advantage of any high grade discovery opportunity that we can potentially plug into that pipeline and really boost the production profile of the company. So Madsen is pretty interesting, actually. It's hosted along a very big geologic break in time. It's called an unconformity. And so if you have sort of the strike extent at Madsen, to the northwest, you have a package of rocks that a lot of people are very familiar with in the Red Lake District. It's called the Balmer assemblage. And, historically, that has been sort of the main geologic package of rock that's been focused on for any prospectivity. That's where a lot of the past producers in the district are hosted, primarily within that package of rock. But then to the southeast of Madsen, across that unconformity, we have the Confederation assemblage. And so until recent times, that package of rock has really been kind of ignored for exploration prospectivity. But of course, we know the narrative that completely changed the game on that was the Great Bear discovery of Dixie Lake, which is now managed by Kinross. So fantastic deposit. It just keeps growing with additional drilling down there. So we're excited, not only with the prospectivity at Madsen, but also within some of the area around the main deposit, where we're seeing a lot of upside for exploration. And a lot of these areas haven't really been explored. So just going out, doing the work to finding new targets. At Madsen proper, we see a lot of upside just down plunge of the existing resource. And so currently the deposit is defined down to around 1 to 1.5 kilometers depth. But we know just right next door at Red Lake, that deposit goes down on the order of 3.5 to 4 kilometers. And the fact that we're, positioned on such a large structural break, we have high confidence that that system does keep continuing at depth. So we have a lot of upside down plunge, when we can get down to those depths to continue extending the zones. And you can see, you know, I have a few figures in our slide deck and on the, you know, on the website that kind of show some of the pierce points and hits that we have that also give us, you know, geologic evidence that the zones do continue beneath where, you know, even historic mining had taken place. And then if we shift out to Rowan, the geology is a little bit different out at Rowan, but you're still sort of in the same package of rocks within Red Lake. But rather than being sort of a, you know, a larger tonnage, if you will, kind of replacement style of mineralization like we see at Madsen, Rowan is really, so far anyways, with a lot of the drilling that we've done to date, has demonstrated that it's mainly, you know, smoky quartz vein hosted, but very high grade, you know, visible coarse gold. The metallurgy on those types of systems is fantastic. We did PEA level metallurgy work on Rowan in 2023, and we were getting recoveries at, you know, over 98% when it was all said and done, running it through the same flow sheet as the Madson mill. But then just in the gravity circuit alone, we were seeing 70 to 80% recoveries. And so when you see those types of numbers, it really tells you that those are going to be, you know, basically just gravy right on the front end of the mill circuit, and you can get that, you know, the bulk of that gold out just within the gravity circuit alone. So very encouraging, and we're seeing obvious synergies between the two projects in the district. You know, without getting too far into the details, in my mind, you know, and I am a geologist, so I'm slightly biased on this opinion, but I feel like a lot of the hardships and the headwinds that were faced by the previous operator really just based around the geology, not having enough time to effectively, you know, map and characterize the geology. So then when the mining operations did transpire and took place, they went in and they realized, you know, the geology was much more complex than previously interpreted. And of course, once that was realized, then, you know, your life of mine plan and all the design work and everything that's built on that geologic model kind of goes out the window. And at that point, you're sort of in tailspin mode, and it can be very, very difficult to recover. So while the production phase was taking place with Pure Gold, they actually went in and did a full reinterpretation of the geology with SRK as a partner in that process. And so it was quite an endeavor, really. And I have to give, you know, the team a lot of credit for making this work. But they did a full reinterpretation of the geology, had a new workflow that they implemented for accurately defining the resource, and you know, and that just includes drifting in on the different levels, doing accurate channel sampling, mapping, integrating all of this stuff into, you know, what we call a final short-term planning model, which is then handed over to the engineers, and they do their MSO shapes and stope shapes around that. And so when we were doing our diligence on the deposit, what we saw is actually during the last 2 to 3 months of production, the reconciliation numbers were actually really starting to line up well for Pure Gold. And that to us was, you know, a big kind of green light turning on and an opportunity, because they're like, these guys were figuring it out, right? They had the workflow in place. They knew what kind of drilling density they needed in order to go in and accurately define, you know, certain portions of the system before mining. And so that's essentially the same recipe for success that now we've adopted, but now we have the luxury of time to take a step back, access portions of the deposit that Pure Gold never had access to. Again, they were sort of constrained to the upper portions of the McVeigh part of the resource, which is actually one of the most structurally complex portions of the system. And so now what we're doing is we're going deeper down into the Austin and the South Austin zone. We have this new area now out to the northeast called the North Austin zone, which is really just a northeast extension of the main deposit. But these are all, you know, higher grade, more continuous parts of the resource that now we have the luxury again of time and financial support to go in and drill these off effectively. And that's really sort of, in my mind, the game changer, is having the luxury to take a step back, treat this like an advanced exploration project again with near-term production potential. And that's really sort of the strategy that the team has adopted. But of course, we are remaining laser focused on an eventual restart. And that is all the planning and everything that needs to happen to help support that is also currently taking place. So we're working on a PFS study right now with SRK, you know, just as an example on the engineering side that's happening along with the drilling. So at Madsen, we're going to be drilling quite a bit. We've got one drill underground that's focused on South Austin currently. We have a second drill that's going to be arriving within a week, actually, and it's going to be focused on the North Austin. And then as we move forward with that program, we're probably looking at around 35,000 meters, if not more, to the end of the year. And it'll be sort of a dual prong approach where we'll be doing, you know, a healthy amount of infill drilling and just building up that inventory and runway of high confidence ounces for the eventual mine restart. But then we're also going to be taking advantage of any of the near mine, brownfield exploration opportunities for growth. So we're going to be defining and increasing confidence in the existing resource, but also hopefully getting some added ounces, which would be new inventory for the deposit at the same time. And then at Rowan, we've also got a pretty healthy program planned, upwards of 15,000 meters to go back in on the Rowan mine target. And so last year we drilled, a little over 20,000 meters, 62 holes at Rowan. Had a lot of success with that program, hit a lot of high grade. The main purpose of that program was really sort of infill and validation of the existing resource. So now that we have a new geologic model built at Rowan and a better interpretation of all the structural controls, we'll be going back this year with really a growth-oriented, growth-focused program at Rowan. So again, 10 to 15,000 meters planned for Rowan. And then along with the healthy drilling programs at both projects, we'll be doing more regional reconnaissance work, which really hasn't been done. I mean, the Rowan property has seen very little to no regional reconnaissance since the 80s, back when GoldQuest was out there actually doing work, which was Goldcorp's exploration division at the time. And so we're really excited about going out and defining new targets at Rowan. I mentioned the Confederation assemblage near Madson earlier and how that has had hardly any work done on it, just because it was always previously seen as moose pasture and non-prospective, but now we know different. So again, there's a lot of blue sky opportunities. So we're excited to start generating new targets as well on both properties.